I'd like to introduce the VitalChild foster placement and matching tool. It's our understanding from the states and counties we've spoken to that finding a foster home for a child is a manual process, often involving starting at one end of a list and calling every family until a match is found. This process can take up to 8 hours or more. Now imagine if that data was in a cloud-based system like VitalChild. Searching for an open bed that meets a child's needs becomes a search that takes a minute. I'd love to be able to give back 8 hours of time to our overworked caseworkers. First, let's talk about how our demonstration system is set up. We will match a foster family to a child based on several preferences. For example, can a family accommodate a child with a physical or cognitive disability? What about their ethnicity preference? How about their sibling preference, or the number of siblings they'd be willing to accommodate? 2, 3, 4? Keeping kids together is so important, as well as the distance a foster family is from the child's home. Now, what if you're in a situation where you need to move a child farther away from their home for safety reasons or court-mandated reasons? Instead of basing our search on a child's address, we could base it on an address 20 miles away. Before I show you the tool, I want to remind you that our demonstration system is not going to match the policies and procedures you follow today. However, it will be customized to follow them exactly during an implementation. Let's get started with finding a home for Erin Johnson. I'll be playing the part of Jamie Potter, CPS caseworker, who's going to find a match for Erin. The first thing we'll do is make sure we have the right information for the child we want to place. In this case, Erin Johnson is an African American child who doesn't have a disability. I see that there are 11 families that have availability for a child with or without a disability. Let's move on to the next preference, ethnicity. Out of those 11, I see that there are only 9 families that would be willing to accept an African American child. Next, we'll look at their sibling preference. Because we're placing a single child, all 9 of those families can accommodate Erin. It's important to note that we're only showing families that have available beds. We don't want to waste a caseworker's time showing them names of foster families that don't have an opening. Last, let's look at the closest foster family. Stephen and Carrie Sherwood are just 2.16 miles away. You'll notice we've included a safety score. As more and more kids, parents, and foster families use a tool like the MDYA 360 Foster Care Assessment, we can get a better picture of the foster families in the system. Think of it as a goodness of fit score. In other words, finding the right family for that particular child. In a matter of a few clicks, Jamie has found a specific list of families to call. I'd like to point out that we could have simply jumped right to this list from the first page. However, for the purposes of our demo, I like to walk through the several steps to give a better understanding of how the tool is configured. Let's start over and imagine that Erin has 2 other siblings, Andy and Annie, and one of them has both a cognitive and a physical disability. Andy Johnson is a spectrum child and is currently in a wheelchair. Using the tool, I see there are 11 families that could accommodate a disabled child, 9 families that would be willing to take an African American child, and just 1 family that can accommodate all 3 kids. This is literally like finding the needle in the haystack. Now, there are going to be situations where there is not a family that meets all the criteria. In that case, the tool can help us work backwards. Maybe there's a family that can take 2 of the kids, and there's a second family only a few miles away who could accept the third. With the foster matching and placement tool, caseworkers now have a tool that can literally save them hours and hours of time while helping keep kids safe and together.